Chambers on Thursday, October 14th, 2021 at 4:35 approximately. I'll call the meeting to order. With that, we'll go around the room for some of us that are here to introduce ourselves, the committee and staff people that are here and all the persons.
Jay Catnock, committee member.
Patrick Delaney, council member.
Jay Bemke, committee member.
Tim DeSorsi, finance.
Dean Veneman, committee or council person.
I also believe we have Matt Zacher, another alderperson that's on Zoom with us tonight. So with that, we'll go to item number 2, and that's review and discuss the 2022 budget. Tim, I guess how would you like to start here with us?
Okay, I guess I'll just kind of, everyone received 3 documents. I'll just kind of go over those. The first one is the departmental budget changes. And basically what this is that, I do believe it was last Tuesday, we distributed a draft of the departmental budget requests that, have been generated by the department heads and reviewed with the mayor in various budget meetings, and kind of we distributed that. Well, as anything, sometimes the budget's in flux, so between now and then we've had certain changes, discussions internally, and basically what I did is I put together a summary of any changes that were made from that document are enumerated on this document. So I'll just kind of briefly go through those. Police department outlay. Originally, we had budgeted the squad computers in the equipment replacement fund, but basically I moved that back into the outlay fund with a transfer from the equipment fund. And so basically it's a zero budget impact. It's just what fund it's budgeted in, where it's being funded from. The elections, I talked to Ms. Gossick over there, and, with the elections and kind of with, next year and not knowing with the absentee voting, who knows with COVID, she would like to increase, I think you increased your election wages plus postage to account for any of the absentee ballots, so that's reflected in the budget. Other city property, I just discovered it was just an Excel error. It was just $2,022, and basically what has the Excel error actually took in the budget year, so I just adjusted for that. None of the line items changed. Airport, increase of $4,918, and basically what that was is that at the last airport commission meeting, they had changed their budget requests because they have a potential for Buren actually participating in that, and so they basically wanted to change that. So, with the uncertainty whether Buren's actually going to participate or not, they wanted to keep the appropriations for the existing municipalities that support the airport the same, and then if Buren comes in, then that'll be additional dollars to that budget. Garbage collection, this week we got in, they're actually getting low on their inventory of trash receptacles. I think they're down to like about 30, and they get requests from various duplexes that need additional receptacles. Some are damaged. So basically they're ordering another, I do believe it's 200 of those, so they can have those available on hand. So when people, whether need a receptacle or want to buy one, they have them on hand. Snow and ice control, storm sewer maintenance, and storm sewer construction. Those were adjustments made because of an analysis I do. So each of the departments that are part of the cost system, and part of the cost system is the street, park, wastewater, engineering, because they don't have exactly one home department where they charge to. They charge based on what the activity they're doing. So if they're doing sanitary construction, street maintenance, they charge a various budgetary accounts. So their labor is spread throughout the budget. And so when I get all the requests in, I look at all the budgeted labor and incidental labor, and basically incidental labor is all it's time off, benefits, and things like that. And I compare that to, based on our existing staffing levels, what the projected actual wages are going to be. And if there's any variance or difference in there, then we reconcile it in the budget. And these reductions in these accounts is a result of that analysis showed that we had more budgeted wages and benefits than we had actual projected actuals for. So I worked with various people from the DPW staff to kind of have them look at their budgets. they came back with these recommendations, and these are the changes that were made. So it's not, it's a reduction in labor, but it's not a reduction in staffing because there was more budget in labor than we actually have actual wages. Does that make sense? Police and Fire Commission met, I do believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and they wanted to add in monies for the recruitment of a new fire chief and next year for a new police chief, potentially. So they added $32,000 approximately for an assessment center that we've done in the past. I do believe they do utilize McGrath Consulting for those, so they wanted to put that into the budget, and so that's reflected in their budget increase. And software replacement fund. Years ago, annually, we put $15,000 away in the software, and this kind of generated from when we wanted new accounting software. We're currently implementing that, almost done with that, but since there's really no new requests for new software, we felt that the $15,000 wasn't needed this year. We still have $32,000 in that fund if there's some any requests arise next year. So those are the changes that were made to the departmental budgets. Anyone have any questions?
Jake?
So the snow and ice control so last year we had a pretty mild winter. Now, if this year we all of a sudden get slammed with a bunch of snow because we're reducing the amount of labor overtime and incidental labor, that wouldn't be an effect to the service that we would receive?
No, I mean, snow and ice control is one of those budgets where it's just like, you can't predict Mother Nature. And so over the years, I've always, working with the staff, I've always said, we budget kind of what the average is each year. Obviously, if we experience a very bad, year, it's like, that's why we have reserves to cover that stuff. But it would not affect what our, I do believe the Public Works Committee sets what our policy is for snow and ice control, and they abide by that. So, and basically what it is that just kind of keeping that budget the same as last year. Sometimes we come out great, and we all hope we do, and sometimes, we do have bad winters, but that's why, we make it up with, maybe some budget surpluses in other operating accounts, or if need be, we, apply some reserves to cover that.
Anybody else with anything? Patrick? Yeah, it can be, I think. Well, we'll see. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I have budget questions. I didn't know if there was any addition to this, if this was department budgets. I have questions more about the, this. Is that okay? I would rather let the committee talk first. Maybe some of my questions would be answered. Yeah,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Tim, you can continue on.
Got to turn my mic here. All right, now the budget, the 2022 budget summary, the executive budget. Basically, this budget is what is taking all the departmental budget requests and also identifying the revenue sources and kind of come up with the complete balanced budget as it stands today. I guess it's up to you guys if you want to kind of go through this in detail, or we can go through some of the budget notes, which kind of I just tried to kind of highlight some of the things that are included in the budget document, and maybe that'll be an easier way to do it, and then we can discuss if you have any specific questions. So if you look at the budget notes here, these are kind of the highlights that from the executive budget, and I'll just kind of walk through that. The first item is the 2021 municipal levy limit. And basically, state law dictates that our levy can only go up X amount based on a formula, and basically that's as a result of net new construction. So, our levy can go up, whatever our net new construction is, that's what we're limited to, plus debt service. And this basically lays out how that calculation is done. So if you see there, net new construction for the city was 2.8%, which allowed the levy to go up $329,154. And then they also allow you to adjust for debt service. So debt service, any debt payments that we make are outside the levy limit. So whatever that goes up gets added to that. And that went up, excuse me, $192,000. So basically, the allowable levy increased from $13,731 to $13,523,441. Right below that, I kind of give you a history of what net new construction has been over the years. And as you can see, it varies because it's all based on what type of development we have each year. As you can see, as a low of 2013, we're allowed a $23,000 adjustment up to, a high of this year of $329,000. You turn to the next page. This is the proposed 2021 tax rate that's included in the budget. And I broke it out between the operating tax rate and the debt service tax rate. So the operating would be the debt service or the tax levy that goes to support annual operations and construction. And that is proposed to increase 37 cents or 3.49%. The debt service tax rate, based on the existing debt that we have today, is projected to go up 19 cents or 11.31%. And basically that's all, any of the monies that we borrowed previously, that's what the debt service is that we have to pay and levy for next year. I also have there a tax rate history that just kind of shows you what the tax rate has done throughout, the various years, just kind of give you an idea, kind of where the tax rate has been and what it's done. And also I have the tax rate history, also what that effect is on a $100,000 house. So it's just more of just informative information for the council. If you flip the page, general obligation debt, because, each year to support our street construction and storm sewer construction, we usually issue debt to support some of those activities. And in this year's budget, we're projecting for street and storm sewer a $2.3 million note issue. I'd like to point out that, $807,000 of that is due to the West Jackson Street project, which is kind of a STP urban grant, or urban project, which is not a usual, they only happen every month. I think the last one we had was East Grand construction, so it's not something that occurs each year. So it's kind of a once in every, depending on 5-6 year type thing. So that kind of drove up the debt this year. And the thing about that is that's all contract work because it's STP urban. So, any of the infrastructure as far as the water and sewer we could do ourselves, but I think those are very limited in that project. So all that project is contract work. Also on there, you'll see, if you remember, last year or the year before, we took out $2,035,000 of note anticipation notes to finance the aquatic center. The reason why we took out the note anticipation notes was depending on if we got donations and, between now and then that, we could use those to pay down that debt. So we issued short-term notes during the fundraising campaign and kind of with the hope that donations would come in. We did get approximately $500,000 from donations. The bulk of that was from the Legacy Foundation and the Mead Witter Foundation. So we were able to use $500,000 that we got from those two sources, plus some other donations that we got to pay down that debt, to basically pay down the amount we have to refinance. Plus, it's proposed that we use about $750,000 from our general fund reserves to help pay down that debt. So instead of having to refinance the full $2 million, it's proposed that we're just going to refinance the $785,000. And with the issuance costs, it would be, promissory notes issued of $3.1 million, but only 2.3 of that would be actually new debt. So the 785 is just refinancing existing debt that we have on our books. And then I just show you, general debt outstanding as of the end of this year will be $29.6 million. It's anticipated we'll pay off $4.5 million, issue $3.1. So actually our total outstanding debt will drop to $28,245,000 of general obligation debt. And then there I have the calculation of our legal debt margin. Basically, state statute says that you can't issue more than 5% of your equalized value. And right now, we've only utilized 46.5% of that capacity. On the last page, in the budget, it's a proposal to increase the stormwater utility fee $2, or actually $1.92. We have to round it so it's divisible by 12 for the monthly utility billing, which will generate $42,701. The premise for this is that with the street sweeping budget being increased, because now with the landfill, we have an additional $60,000 expense new this year, because now we're going to have to landfill our street sweepings and pay the landfill for those, and that, it drove up that budget. Storage sewer maintenance has actually increased over the previous year. So basically right now with the stormwater utility, and that's that the street sweeping, storm sewer maintenance, and the administration, plus we also use approximately $250,000 that we transfer to the storm sewer construction fund to pay for storm sewer. Basically that's offsetting what we'd have to borrow. The expected budget for next year for those 4 activities are $1,060,000, and right now the fee is only generating about $975,000. So we have a operating deficit of $84,000. So it's proposed to increase it $2 to help offset that. Also, and the rest will come out of reserves, but also the 1 Mile Creek dredging project is funded out of the storm sewer utility. And since that's kind of like that's not an annual type operation, we'll probably take some of that out of reserves in that fund. But it's one of those things where we only have existing reserves because we had that 8th Street culvert this year that was approximately $150,000 has to come out of that, was unexpected. So that's kind of the premise behind kind of raising that fee. And historically, throughout the years, we have been increasing that incrementally to help try to cover not only the operating, but to limit the amount that we have to borrow for storm sewer construction. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, kind of some of the highlights of what's in the budget document. Obviously, there's a lot of information in here. The expenditure side, it should reflect, for the most part, what was in the departmental budget requests, that the document that you received last Tuesday or the Tuesday before that. And then basically, but it also lays out all the revenue sources to kind of balance the budget. So, but obviously, with in the document that I kind of try to pull out, obviously with the taxes, borrowing, and any fees, that's what the kind of budget notes tries to highlight for the council.
Mr. Rayum, can I really quick?
Mr. Mayor,
It'll be quick. I guess the big controversy, obviously, that's been talked about over and over was the public works director. And that money is technically right now sitting in contingency. So it's there, and so it's factored in. So if whatever happens, that money is sitting in an account. Just to let you know, it's not like disappeared. I guess we could pull it out and reduce maybe our levy, but I think with questions, concerns, discussions, that's sitting out there yet. I didn't want to make it disappear, and then now we have to figure out should the council decide to put it back in, do we raise taxes, take it from somewhere else? So I thought it would be just prudent and safe just to leave it out there.
so it is there.
It's there sitting in contingency. We didn't take that money and allocate it for something else or reduce the tax levy just because of the unknowns. Just want to let you know that up front.
Jay, did you have something?
Yeah, no. Just a quick question. Tim, if you go back in the notes, general obligation debt outstanding, is that 46.5%, is that of the 5% of the statutory limit?
Right, according to the legal debt margin, the city would be, under state statutes, able to borrow $60.8 million. Right now, we're at 28.2, so the 46 is what we've actually utilized, so the difference between that and 100% would be the capacity we have left.
Thank you.
Jake?
Could you speak to the Public Works Director contingency budget? So if we were to move in the direction of not continuing with the Public Works Director, where that money would potentially go?
Sure. I mean, obviously, depending on what, decisions ever made, it's in contingency. The only way that money comes out of contingency would be by council action. So if we don't utilize those funds for that position, it's really up to the council to determine if we wanted to utilize that to reduce the tax levy or to fund some other initiative. Yeah. So, obviously, but then if the decision is to retain that position, then we would obviously make either probably make a motion to transfer that a contingency and to fund that account like it has been in the past years.
Patrick?
All right. I've got a lot of questions. Some of them he's answered before the meeting. So, but I'd just like to run through them. It's going to take a while. I'm sorry. Okay, if we look at the budget on page 35, this budget,
The big one? Okay. Whoops, sorry.
can we move on to this budget now? Is that okay? We had talked a little bit about engineering equipment, that there is $9,000 a year set aside for additional equipment. Just want to know thoughts about increasing it or decreasing it.
As far as like the engineering equipment replacement, right? And as we talked earlier, that that's the amount that we set aside each year in that account. Some years there are no expenditures, but basically with all our replacement accounts, it's kind of like saving up or putting money aside. So when those things do have to be replaced, we have the funds to do that. And you'll see that as part of, each year we do a carryover resolution. So at the end of the year, whatever unspent funds are in those equipment replacement accounts, I bring a resolution forward to, carry those funds over. But, one of the things that, the mayor and I have talked about this year, and I've been kind of requesting of department heads, is that, a need to, update those projections as far as, we went through an exercise a number of years ago looking at, what is the equipment that needs to be replaced, and we kind of came up with those figures. And, and we had talked this year that it's, it's time to kind of go through that exercise again. We have various equipment replacement accounts between the street, fire, police, engineering, IT, and I think that's an exercise we're going to go through. But, the premise behind putting that money aside each year in the budget, kind of keeping it consistency, is so that from year to year, we don't have, peaks and valleys in our budget requests, to fund those things. So, if you take it out of the budget and all of a sudden next year we have a significant amount of those things need to be replaced, and all of a sudden now it puts, kind of a stress on your budget, or now you got to find those funds where they weren't there the previous year. So we try to budget, an annual amount to go into those funds. And then when those requests come up, they either put it in the budget, as you'll see, some of those are in the budget, and that's, your prerogative to whether you want to fund those. I mean, it's just because we're putting money in a equipment replacement account doesn't mean that that's an approved expenditure unless it's line item in the budget, or if it exceeds, a certain dollar amount in our resolution. I think we have like anything over $10,000 is supposed to come back to the council. Even though we have the funds there, it should be coming back to the council for your approval. And so that, we have some controls on that. So it's not just a kind of a, money we're putting aside, and they can just spend, without some oversight, whether it be the mayor and or the council.
Okay, my next question is on page 38 for the finance department. Over the past 4 years, it's grown over, well, nearly $60,000. But yet there's been a decrease in full-time employees by 0.69%. Can you speak to that?
Sure, let me just pull up my budget here. Okay, yeah, here. I mean, a lot of that is that, in past, we've had some positions budgeted, we haven't fully utilized that, and that'd be like the deputy tax collector. So, some of that is that we haven't utilized those funds, but also one of the big increases in is our software support contract, because as we implemented Munis,
I'm talking about just wages.
Wages.
Purely wages have gone up $60,000. That's all I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's gone up $60,000 since 2018, but yet the full-time employees have decreased.
right. I would have to say that some of that is that, like I said, it's like, even though the full-time employees, it's like, one, you have cost of living adjustments in there. Two, we had assistant finance director position reclassified. We had a senior accountant. When that person retired, we had an assistant finance director, which is that actual increase in the wage for that position. So the exchange between those two.
Okay.
So we had an increase of wages there that shows up in the budget, but not in the actual, because we just created the position in 2021.
Sure. Also, there's additional training on page 39 for $4,000. And it does explain what you're training, what you guys do for training. Also, on page 49, there is professional development, which says that it's training for $30,000. I think that's pretty high. Like,
Do
doesn't.
you want to speak to that?
So, Patrick, what that is working with HR. I realize that in our organization, we don't train our management, or, our police and fire get quite a bit of management training, but the rest of the city does not see that. So we looked at hiring a consultant to come in and offer training, so all of our supervisors would understand HIPAA laws, conflict resolution, and those, and that training is a one-time training for $30,000 for 35 people. 10.
That seems like a lot. I mean,
I agree. It is a lot of money, but when you divided it 10 sessions by 35 people, I think the value of getting that training versus not having it for our supervisors is important. And I think Ryan Hartman, when if we do his budget or on a budget night, he could kind of articulate more about the training and how that's being set up, and more of the reasons why we think we need it in our organization, because it's historically, a lot of times people get promoted. Oh, you do a good job and you show up on time. You want to be a boss, and there is a lot more to managing employees and those laws that I think are important, that they need to be trained that.
okay, so this is completely separate from what's on page 39, which is training of a different sort. And there's also training in other places.
Yeah, so each department will budget their own training and try to articulate what that training is for. So you probably
Sure, yeah, I mean, each department has their own training and education accounts for, it varies by department. A lot of it's just for attending conferences, any online type of things. The training in the HR budget is strictly that $30,000 is for some, actually on-site classroom type instruction for management training for identified individuals. The $30,000 that was in this year's budget was for the wage study, and then $30,000 for that's budgeted there for 2022 or proposed for 2022 is for that, management training.
And it's accumulation of almost every department is going to be represented there. So instead of just putting it in each individual department budget, we house it under HR's budget because they're the one organizing it. But it's just not HR people, it's management from across the city.
For only 35 people. Like, boy.
Get what you pay for.
Here's the deal. The book, right? The book that cost $1,000 for Public Works. You guys have a problem with that, but not a problem of spending $1,000 a person to go to conflict resolution training.
I guess for me, I think it's important that these supervisors get that training. If council doesn't feel it's important, but they need to learn some of these skills, and I think it's important for the organization that we have people that are trained correctly. Because not all people come into positions with strong management skills. Ideally, you'd like to have some of them skills in place, but they need to be learned and practiced.
Okay, moving on. Page 48. Over the past 4 years, there's been an increase of $71,603 for 0.20 more full-time employees.
I believe that reclassification of employees within the department.
Human resources wages?
Correct, just wages.
Okay. I'll speak to that as we had some gaps and we had a lot of turnover in the HR department. So even though you budget X amount of dollars for, you budget for the, the staffing that you have in that department, but when you have turnover, a lot of times those positions are vacant for a number of months or even longer. And so it'll the actual wages will be down because you're not paying anyone because it's vacant. But what the budget reflects is the actual staffing. So I know we had the HR director position vacant for over the past 3 years. I think we've had on and off, we're on our third person, I do believe, between when one retired, one was here for about a year and then was gone. And then there were some gaps in there. Also, we've had, turnover and another person retired in there. And so that, by the time you go through the recruiting process and replace that person, there's some gaps there. So that's kind of reflected in when you look at the actual wages, seems lower in previous years compared to the budget because we weren't paying for the full staffing because of those vacancies.
Okay. Just down from the professional development on page 49, there is a FIT program. You described the FIT program as a contract with Ascension to provide on-site health-related services such as FIT assessments, therapy services, and injury intervention. That's $62,000 for what exactly are we getting out of this?
I'm not ultimately familiar with this, but we have an on-site physical therapist that has office hours here, so employees can kind of come in if they have some type of ailment or thing, instead of going to a doctor or to see a doctor, they can come here and kind of they help out with that. Also, that program is utilized for workers' comp, so instead of going maybe to the doctor, that person has say a shoulder injury, whatever, can come here and we can, that person can determine what it is before we go to a doctor, and then it, counts against our experience. But
So does this lower the
That's the
insurance bills
Yeah.
by that much or more?
well, what we have is in workers' comp, we have it's called the experience modification factor. So, you're statutorily, you're charged based on your employee category, a statutory amount, and then whatever that calc is out based on your wages, you apply an experience mod factor. And so, figure is one would be, okay, you just pay the premiums that statutorily are set for that classification. But if you have a lower mod factor, it actually lowers it. And actually, our mod factor has actually been going down over the past couple of years. So right now we're at 0.84. So here's, so we calculate our premiums and then we reduce it by applying that factor. So the
And-
less we have in workers' comp, the more money we actually save on the premium side.
So this can be directly attributed to the lower rates. Do retirees get this as well?
No, it's just for active employees, and they can schedule an appointment and stuff like that. So
Why not put the retirees on it? I think Jay would like a adjustment. Yeah. All right, page 51. We have an increase over the past 4 years of $46,610 to information technology. That's a 28% increase, and we've added 0.12 full-time employee positions.
This is kind of similar to what I explained with the HR, is that we've had some turnover in that department, and same kind of thing, that we had some people, go on to a different job, and so we've had turnover in that department over the past 3 years, and it's kind of the same thing as HR. So the actuals for the past years don't necessarily reflect what the actual cost for the wages of that department that are in the 2022 budget request.
Okay. The last thing I'd like to talk about is the library that is requesting $2 million. I see from past budgets that they've been getting over $1 million for quite some time. So I went around the state and looked at cities that were similar size of ours. Many of them have county libraries, and I did place a call with all of them, and I just have a couple of responses. From what I see from budgeting, Economowalk is at $1,227,282. Beaver Dam is $732,533. And we have the county budgets of Winnebago, $2,229,370. That is for 5 libraries. Portage County, $1,829,365, and that's for 28.19 full-time employees. None of these people have called me back. I did speak with Brown County. I actually spoke with a couple people from there. They run 10 libraries in 9 locations with one, what they call a bookmobile. Their total annual revenue is $7,059,000 or $59,007. So 7059007. They have over 900,000 card holders. So if you divide that by the revenue that they get, that is $7.84. Now they do get other revenue through renting out their space. They also get revenue through donations, and then obviously book fees and stuff like that. 93% is from the levy though. So, sorry. So I thought that was pretty interesting to be able to run 9 physical location libraries for $7 million. And I did speak with them, and that's all they get from the tax levy. The next people I had talked to that was pretty close to us was Germantown. Germantown, they get $941,000 from the city. The county adds another $300,000 for $1,241,000. And they have 15.5 full-time employees. I didn't think to ask how many card holders they had. I would imagine more than us. So with the Brown County libraries with 900,000 cardholders at $7.84, here, Macmillan Library, they have 18,745 cardholders. That is $107.09 per cardholder if we're to approve this this high amount. I think that I'm not against library. I think that a city that borrows over $1 million a year and then gives $1 million to the library, I think that is not very fiscally responsible. Because essentially you're borrowing money and giving it to the library. And the library is it's not a critical part of the city, as by their own closing down, the non-essential, and they had closed down last year, so I would say they would be self-admitting that they are not essential. And I'm going to end on that.
Is that it? Okay. Shane?
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to thank Tim. I know he's the finance director and this is his job, but I know he takes it very seriously and he spends an incredible amount of time, nights and weekends, to get this together, to get it balanced and try to keep the city in the best financial shape as possible. So I just want to thank you for that because I know you spend a lot of time working on this.
Anybody else have anything, or how would you like to proceed?
Yeah, sure. Historically, we've kind of brought in departments.
Yep.
And I think that's always a good exercise to kind of have the, departments here to ask these specific questions, So, and usually, we've always had police and fire, public safety kind of night. And then we've also had, the public works on one night, maybe, based on the previous comments, maybe we have Andy Barnett from the library to come in and kind of walk through his budget and, ask him questions for that or any other department that you guys would like. It's kind of up to you. You've kind of, it's kind of, we wanted to get the Department of Budgets to you, even though it was still in, kind of numbers were changing a little bit, but we wanted to get that in front of you so you could kind of start going through there and kind of formulating some questions. And I think the questions are good and it's, and it's a good exercise and it's a needed exercise. So, so depending on, what the committee and the rest of the alder persons, want to see what departments you'd like to see kind of come in and walk you through their budgets. I think it's a good exercise. So we can, schedule out, I was looking at last year's schedule, of what we had, and we're kind of right on that same timeline, but also I want to kind of take a moment here to kind of talk about the budget process. And the mayor and I were talking about this, earlier this week with, kind of where this kind of comes down and, we're kind of, budgets are always in flux, but, we've talked that, I think it would be very good exercise next year to kind of move everything up a month and kind of have departmental budgets due at the end of July so that it affords me time, the mayor's time to meet with the department heads so that we can get this stuff out in front of you a little bit earlier so we can have some, dialogue. I mean, we're still going to have some good dialogue, but, sometimes the longer we have to kind of go through and vet some of these budgets, the better, and the more transparency with the public, having the public, opportunity to view these things and stuff like that. So that's just one of the things I just want to mention about the budget process that we're talking about, kind of moving that up. And I know, and And I understand with, you know, a lot of the budget, especially with the DPW side, is like, you know, the budget deadlines are right in the middle of their most busy season and stuff like that. But hopefully, you know, we can, you know, work with them to kind of start that process with them earlier, have them start looking at some of that stuff earlier, and maybe, you know, with a capital improvements process where we're looking at the construction and some of the capital items maybe more in the spring, you know, so that we've already kind of gone through and vetted those things, that so by the time it gets to this document, you know, the Public Works Committee and the rest of the council are already aware of what, you know, what we're going to do. So I just wanted to make that comment. But it's up to you with what, you know, departments you want to meet with, or what department heads. I mean, I can surely schedule them to have in. But, you know, like I said, in previous years, we've kind of had, you know, police and fire one night, Public Works, that would be like the engineering, construction, and the street operating in one night, and then usually we have another night for any other, like, you know, kind of other departments that you want to bring in. So it's kind of up to the committee and how you want to proceed.
Okay. Committee, I guess, starting our, we had a couple of, and Matt's if he's still on Zoom too. How would you like to start here? Which groups?
I think it's,
I'm open for anything. I think to have these committee, different departments come in is great, so.
yeah, I do too. We spoke about this in a previous meeting. I do think it's good that we set timelines and specific amount of time for when each department comes in. That said, I think the larger departments should be at the front end of this. So police, fire, public works. And I always think at budget time, it's always nice to have the departments or parts of the city that have smaller budgets, but also play a big part to come in and say what they got going on this year, what they're spending their taxpayer dollars for. So I think it's good to start with the larger budgets, but library, for example, to come in and speak their piece on what they feel they bring value and where those budget dollars are going would be good. Parks, we got a aquatic center and a lot of money spent on parks this year. I think it's good for them to come in. So I think it'd be good to get everybody their fair time, but there's been years where we've had them come in and it kind of gets away from us and we spend a lot more time picking apart them line by line, and I'd hate to see that. So as far as agenda items, police, fire, and then maybe set aside a night or two for the additional departments, perhaps with in mind that we want them to come and speak their piece, not necessarily pick their budget apart. And if we do have questions, we can ask them of them beforehand in a direct call instead of a committee meeting.
Okay. So would you like us to pick tonight where we start, or just over the weekend here decide which, who we want to come in first next? What nights are you guys available? Council meeting next week, Tuesday, so that's kind of out.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, no, sorry. I don't know if we have planning commission before council next week. Is that correct? Okay. So, you know, we could do a week from today, the 21st, and we could have police and fire come in. We might have a closed item agenda at the end of that to discuss a different issue related to the public safety, if that would be okay, the 21st. And then we could also have a meeting on the Tuesday, the 26th, and we could bring in, that would kind of be the public works. And then, you know, and maybe we schedule it for the 21st and 26th, and then maybe at one of those meetings, everyone can look at their calendars and kind of see where we want to schedule the rest of them for that, because we have a regularly scheduled one, obviously, on the 2nd, so obviously we could have some of the department heads come in then. So, you know, I would suggest maybe the 21st and 26th. I don't show anything on the council right here. That's what I'm looking at, that calendar. So the council chamber should be free on the 21st and 26th.
Tom, I'm not available next week, the 21st. I'm not available on the 21st, and I would like to be present for that meeting.
Okay. Is that week out altogether, or just that?
No, just that day I could do.
How about the 20th on the Wednesday? Or is that,
we have municipal court at 3:30. I don't know how long they do it, but
Yeah, that's probably.
does that include the first floor conference room too?
Well, there's Monday.
We can do it Monday. That's Monday, the 18th.
How about, then, what we looking at first here? Oh, 18th is the first one.
I think the following week, after next week, we could do a Tuesday, Thursday.
Yep, we can do that too.
We could do police and fire one night,
Okay.
public works another.
Yep.
Maybe pair that with something else, and then after that week, we could lead into
Yep.
discussing with the.
Okay. Why don't we look at, okay, then, why don't we look at 18th? And the 26th is a Tuesday and 28th is a Thursday.
Or do you want to just do the 26th and 28th and then the 2nd? Right,
Yeah. And then give you a chance maybe to review the documents a little bit.
yeah.
And we can see if police and fire available or,
Yeah, well, 26th and 28th, we'll have public works on one night and we'll have public safety on the other.
Yep.
And then on the 2nd, we can have, you know, maybe the library and any other department heads. And please let me know if you want a particular department to present or go through,
Yep.
or, like I said, you know, if you got questions, you
yeah,
can
and I
email me
think-
or the department head too, so,
And I think with that, we'll see what our regular agenda is for that night,
yeah.
you know, for, if it's not real long, for what we could schedule for, departments and that, so. Depending what we have, so. Yep. Yep, I think so, 4:30. Is that okay with everybody?
26th and 28th. Oh, that's the normal, yeah.
Yep. And if that's all right with everybody for this evening, then I don't have anything else. Anybody else?
I'd just like to say, you know, as you're reviewing this stuff, if you have questions, feel free to call me, email me. You know, I know it's a lot to digest and stuff like that, but, you know, I actually like when I get questions and stuff like that. So as you're reviewing it, if you have a question, feel free to, you know, call me, or you can save them for the meeting. That's no problem too.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Well, committee, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. Got a motion second to adjourn. Committee, all those in favor respond by aye. Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. We're adjourned at 5:27 approximately. Thank you, everybody.